sponsored by Convene Community, a platform with a purpose. Convene communities are networks of individuals who come together for the purpose of learning, sharing experiences and knowledge, and working towards personal transformation. Members of this community have access to exclusive content, resources, tools, and events that can help them achieve success. Convene communities are a group of real people having real lives, living real experiences. Today, I'm excited, you guys, to tell you that I am joined here by a very special person, Coach Ken Canion, and we're going to introduce Coach the proper way. Coach Ken Canion is a personal development and relationship coach who helps women and couples create happy, healthy, and authentic relationships without losing themselves in the process. He has transformed the lives of hundreds of students and clients by transforming their thought processes, behaviors, and beliefs about themselves and their relationships. These transformations are made using the Canion culture methodology. His methodology is based on getting individuals and couples to understand that everything in a healthy relationship is centered around the ability to create a cohesive culture where people see themselves as partners and not adversaries. It's much like successful companies that create dynamic cultures for their employees, creating this type of environment that makes people want to stay. Thus, people rarely want to leave. Coach Ken has been featured in Black Enterprise and Essence magazines. He's also been highlighted on CNN, Fox, CBS, QVC, and the Home Shopping Channel. He is the author of 8 books, including his latest book called The Canion Culture, Creating Relationships That Last, a book he co-authored with his lovely wife, Karen, of 20 years. Now that we are finally live, I want to introduce you guys to Coach Ken Canion. Coach, this time, really, welcome to the show. And we
live.
live.
Hello, how are you, Brenda? I appreciate you for doing what you do. And then obviously having me on, you taking a risk, but
not a risk.
You must be a risk taker. So no, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
I am a risk taker and I'm unapologetically unstoppable. And I am all about having questions and answers with no filters because I think we spend too much time sugarcoating stuff and not really having those really hard conversations and needed conversations that will help us move to the next level on our personal and business endeavors. Here's the thing. Coach, the reason I wanted to have you on the show because it's Face It Friday, and those people that do watch me on a regular know that I bring people on that will help me live my life better. I want to live my best life now, Coach. No opportunity wasted. Okay. And now that I have turned 60, I am divorced, and it's been 4 years. I'm ready to have a relationship of my dreams, and that's way after 40 for me. So I thought it'd be great to have you come on so we can get some of your wisdom and your thoughts on how that can happen. But before we get into how you make that happen for all the amazing people that have the benefit of connecting with you, I really want to know, Coach, what was the catalyst to get you moving from personal development, although I know you still do that, into relationships? And I love to say before you start, I love how you tie in the business and the personal aspects, because I've always believed if your personal life is jacked up, your business is going to suffer.
Sure. Well, thank you. Thanks for asking that question. How did I make the switch? And if I go back about 14 and a half years ago, I tell this story that my wife and I had been married 7 years, and we had been together for a while, but things were not going well. You know how when you transition from one way of being to another way of being, then you have to adjust to that way. And what people don't understand is that adjustment is going to happen whether you love each other or not. And so we didn't realize that we didn't really communicate like we thought we should, and we just couldn't get along. She couldn't stand me. I couldn't stand her. Everything she said irked me. Everything I said irked her. And I'll never forget it. We were just arguing, and it had gotten so bad that I literally was thinking about, okay, this ain't gonna work. So I guess I'm gonna get a divorce. And I never wanted to say the word, so I didn't say it. I only thought it. She was the same way. Because my parents, they stayed together till my mother passed, and I'd seen that, and I was the type of person that I wanted to do that. But anyway, long story short is that we argued so much until one day we were arguing, it got so bad, and my wife, she decided, she said, "Can we just go for a ride?" And I asked her, I said, "Well, why did you say that?" She said, "Because I thought if we got out of the house was the place of just that negative energy."
Mm.
We were driving down the street. I didn't really want to ride anywhere with her, but I was like, all right. And so, you know how you drive with somebody, y'all mad. She looking out her window. I'm looking out my window.
Yeah.
And I never forget it. She said, "I'm hungry." And I was hungry too. But the point about this is I did a video called How $7 Saved My Marriage. The
Mm.
reason why that's important is because at that time I just gotten off a reality show, The Biggest Loser. And
Mm.
we talked about that.
Right.
I didn't have much money because I had turned down a lot of money to do the show to get my health back. So she said, "Pull into that Wendy's." I wasn't even eating fast food at the time, but I
Right.
was so disgruntled. We pulled through the drive-through, and I'll never forget it. It was two. We got two meals. I only had $7. Two meals, $2.99 a piece. It was $6 and some change. And she said, "Pull into a parking space." I was like, "For what?" And she said, "Please." And
Mm.
that's all she said. All I knew to say was "please."
Mm.
And she looked at me directly in my eye and she held my hand and said, "I didn't get married to get divorced. We're going to sit here till we figure out what's wrong with us." We stayed there 2 hours and 42 minutes. And at that time, I learned more about her during that time than I
Mm.
did in years we've been married. We figured out a conflict resolution system that not only saved our marriage, but it saved other marriages and other relationships. So that at that point, I knew I had a bigger purpose.
Okay.
I had been coaching, but I was like, there are relationships out there that don't have to die. And
Mm-mm.
so let me use my unique skill set to help people. So
You
that's what.
know, Coach, I think that's amazing. And that's one of the things that I love about your story. And when I was doing the research, is because there are a lot of relationship coaches now, or maybe it's just because I'm aware of them because of the situation that I'm in,
Okay.
but most of them don't have successful relationships. And
You
I'm
said it, I didn't, but you're
no,
right.
I will say it again. Most of them don't have successful relationships. And I've always had a problem having someone that is not successful. Not that it can't be done, but I think it holds more weight when you have a proof of concept that you not only know what you're teaching, but you've lived it and at least done it.
Right.
So
Right.
when I hear the practical advice that you often give, and it's straight, no chaser, I
Mhm.
just love it. I literally pop popcorn, get my diet Pepsi, which I'm starting to wean myself off of.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And I sit here and I binge watch and I giggle. And then I call other people in to watch with me because I'm such a groupie. But with that said, I wrote down 5 questions out of the 5 pages of questions that were
5
submitted.
pages of questions. Okay.
I've
Okay.
asked you. And the first one was, what are some of the most common challenges that women over 40 face when seeking their dream relationship? And what can we do to overcome them?
Okay. Common challenges that women over 40 face. Number one, and this is a big one. They're in no particular order. But one of the
Mm,
challenges is they face is you can't unsee what you've seen.
true.
You can't unhear what you've heard. And what happens is, and what do I mean by that? That means that they bring this ideology because, number one, other men have done this to me. And
Mhm.
so I look at new relationships through the lens of those relationships. That's number one, because the only way you can see something new is you've got to change the lens and be willing to identify, to look at something new. Now, I'm not saying don't bring your experiences, don't bring the things that have helped shape you. But what I am saying is a lot of women over 40 will not look at the situation for what it is or who this person is. They view the person through the lens of someone else or another experience. That's number one. Number two, Most women over 40 who are not finding love won't give themselves permission to love. Now, so watch what I'm gonna tell you. They won't give themselves permission to love. They will make every excuse in the book why they can't love, why they won't find love. And so when you do it that way, you create the energy that perpetuates the very thing that you say you don't want. And so when I teach my students the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, what happens is I say energy is powerful. It is either never created or destroyed. The energy by which you put it in the universe, that energy will be reflected back to you. And so if you keep saying what I don't want, what I don't want, I don't want a man that cheats, I don't want this, I want that, don't want that. What happens is that's what you get. You get the very thing that you say that you don't want, because remember this, where attention goes, energy flows. And if your attention is, I don't want a man that cheats, well, what you think you're going to get? You're going to get a man that cheats. Instead of saying, I want a man who's going to love me for me. I want a man who's going to be faithful to me and me only. Well, that's a different energy. That energy in and of itself, it says, okay, I'm focusing what I do want, and now the energy, now the universe will bring me those things. And I would say the very last thing that women over 40, the problem with women over 40 is they need to live in the moment. And when I say that, people get mad, they get triggered. I don't give a shit, because I tell them, somebody calling in already. Because I say, so one of the things, Brenda, let me explain this to you. Men don't think about the picket fence. They don't think about the house we're going to buy. They don't think about the money we're going to make together. They don't think about that. Men live in the moment. And what happens is, the reason why men, I always tell people, men don't think about commitment. Commitment slaps the shit out of them. It slaps them. And then what happens is, then they like, I don't want to see my life without this woman in it. And then I was like, well, that means I got to commit. That's how it happens. It's not like, and what women do, they live in the future. Women say, okay, I like this guy. Ooh. And they start contemplating what the future looks like. And what happens is they put subtle pressure on him. What are we doing? What are we doing? Where are we going? What are we doing? And he's like, I just want to experience you. I put out a video, and the video said, a man wants to experience you. Now, I'm not talking about sex. That's a whole different subject that we can get into. But he wants to experience your personality, who you are, because men make decisions based on how they feel when they are with you. That's how it works. Women can't grasp that. They can't grasp the concept because they don't think like that. And so because they don't think like that, they live in the future. They put in the sort of pressure. I got to get to the future, got to get to the future. And they neglect to live in the present. And then they'll say to me, well, coach, I don't want to waste my time. I said, he doesn't either. I said, but the only way he'll know if he's wasting his time is determine how he feels when he's with you. And the only way he can determine how he feels is experience you in the moment.
And you say, we talked about this before we came on camera about how a man views you. And I call it the triple F, the freak, the friend, or the forever. And for those that have never heard me speak about this, it's my contention, and I want Coach to weigh in on this, is that when we meet a man, he decides rather quickly if we're going to be a freak, his friend, or his forever. Freak meaning all we're ever going to be is a booty call. His friend is, I like you. You may even meet my friends, family, and mama. And I may even introduce you to a partner because I know you're not the right one for me, but you're a nice woman. And then if you're his forever, that's when he's ready to move heaven and hell for you. And he's going to do everything he can to make sure you're happy, and you're not going to even doubt that he wants you. But most women don't know which position they're holding. And even if they do, they don't know how to play that position. And then finally, it's my contention that we should want to be his freak, his friend, and his forever, so he doesn't have to look elsewhere.
Okay. I like that. I like the 3F syndrome. I've just made up my own name for it. Okay. All right. So is there a question you want to ask me about that?
My question is, am I on the right track that when men meet us, they put us in a category? I mean, I feel like I get to decide if I want to be the freak, the friend, or the forever, because there were times in my life when I didn't mind occupying all three of those lanes. one
Sure.
at a time or all three together. But
Sure. Absolutely.
is that a wrong thought process that men actually view us that way?
Absolutely not. Matter of fact, you spelled it out so succinctly. You said the men think about when they think about it as the 3F syndrome. They put you either the freak category, friend, or forever. So yes, you're absolutely right. Now here's how they determine it though. This is the part where women don't understand. Women have way more power than they realize. Okay, what category or what bucket they fall in, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I always tell them, number one, because many men, and I'm not talking every man, we are wired to want sex. Okay, we are wired because we feel God gave us testosterone because the last thing He wanted was us walking around with a piece of meat between our legs, nothing to do with it. We could recreate and procreate and replenish the earth. Now, that being said, women are the gatekeepers of sex. Men are the gatekeepers of relationships. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So what happens is determine what categories he will determine fairly quickly where you fall. And part of it, and but the problem is you won't know where you fall unless you follow the specific instructions that I teach my people. Now
Okay.
watch what else. If you withhold sex from a man, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now don't get mad at a man because he desires you sexually. That's
Okay.
normal.
Okay.
Okay. But here's the problem. What a lot of women believe that is he wants me sexually, and they conflate lust with love. They think he's treating me well. Oh, he's showering me with it. He's talking. He's calling me oh sugar every morning. We doing all of this stuff. All of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's love bombing me, and then I confuse that with love because I begin to feel what he's feeling. So I'm thinking now I have all this oxytocin, this dopamine rushing him out, these hormones, and I believe that it's something that it's not. And so what happens is he wants the sex.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give him the sex, the physical connection, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden he gets it. He gets you in an emotional place where you begin believing that it's something that it's not. And then he begins to pull away or pull back or starts breadcrumbing you, starts giving you just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And you like, well, what happened? And so what happened was this. You gave him the physical relationship, the physical connection first before you ever decided that I'm going to focus on the mental connection or the emotional connection. What I teach my people is this, my ladies is this. There are three kinds of connection: physical connection, there's the mental connection, and the emotional connection. Men in general don't want to give you an emotional connection first. That's just, they just don't. Well, what happens is women would like the emotional connection. So what I teach my people is focus on the mental connection that both parties are willing to give. If he's not willing to give you the mental connection, then you already know. You already know the category you fall in. So if you're not, what is the mental connection? People might ask, Coach, what is it? It is where you strategically ask certain kinds of questions that I teach you to see if our values are in alignment. Most of us don't ask questions to find out if our values are in alignment. We just focus on how we feel at any given moment. And now you've fallen into the freak category. But you don't want to be in that category. You don't want to be in the category. You want it to be forever. But now once you've fallen in it, you feel like, okay, all right, I got to ride. I'm going to let him see that I'm this kind of chick. I'm a great woman. I'm going to feed him. I'm a fucking. I'm gonna give him money. Whatever I need to do, I'm gonna do more and more and more and more. Because if I feel like if I do more, he will give me that title. And the truth is, the more you do, the actually less he will give you, because you didn't seek the mental connection first prior to the physical connection. If he gets mad, you say, well, I'm gonna give you this and I'm gonna let you ask the next question, but I gotta give you this. One of my students asked me this question. Y'all, if you're listening to this, write this down. A man wanted sex from me, right? And he wanted sex, and I didn't want to give him the sex because I wanted to figure out who he was. I didn't want to fall in that category. And I said, here's how you say it. I'm doing a communication program, I said, say this. Say, you know what, Mr. Canion, you know what, Ken, I would love to have a physical connection with you if we got to that point. I would love to.
Mhm.
I would love to explore that part of you. But you know what, right now, the most important thing to me is the mental connection. Are our core values in alignment? And I think once we realize that, it's our relationship can take many turns. And I'm
Mhm.
willing to go there. You see what I just did? I really just
Mhm.
told you ain't getting no pussy, but I told you in a way. I just
But you
told you in
said
a
it
way.
nicely.
Yes, that's what I said. I'm just
That was
saying.
actually what the next question was surrounding about, coaches, because for me, I'm celibate, and that's a choice
Okay.
that I made for myself. And I actually had someone tell me that, well, you're going to be lonely by yourself for a long time, because they felt that at 60 that I should be giving up the drawers at whim, because you've been there, done that, got 3 t-shirts. So I've been married
Mm.
3 times. That's why I say 3 t-shirts. Um, and I'm going, no. So the question that a lot of the ladies had, because although they want to be in a relationship, many of them have been celibate for a while or have decided that they totally didn't want to have sex until they were married. Is that unreasonable?
Well, let me say this. So I'm going to put this in a way that you will understand this. It is not unreasonable if it is your standard.
Mm,
Okay. There are men who will adhere to your standard. Now, I often tell people who say that. I said the truth is the reason many times, not everybody, but the
mhm,
reason many times people are withholding sex is because they're saying, I don't want to give sex because sex leads to me getting hurt. That's one of the reasons. Some people do it because it is a religious belief that they say, you know what, I want to preserve myself, and it's part of my belief system. But some people say I'm gonna be celibate because it hadn't got me anywhere. It hadn't worked out for me
mhm,
because it leads to heartache. So what I tell people is this: once you do what I teach people to do, find out the connection first. Focus on the collecting of the data that you need to collect and then connecting. So I created this thing called the 2C methodology: collect, then connect. And
correct.
so what I tell people is once you collect enough data over time, and then the person shows you their intentions by what you do, you might say, I'm 6, 8 months into it. I love this man. He loves my dirty bathwater. I might let him explore this part of me, but I am convinced that I am the one. I am convinced that our relationship is at that place. And
Mm,
so it is not unreasonable, all right, now, but what I tell people, instead of saying I'm just not going to ever do it, you say that's not my priority until I find someone that I truly can connect with, because we all grown. I'm not telling you what to do
mhm.
with your body. I'm just telling you what to do, but because based on your relationship goals. If you tell me what your goal is, I'll tell you what to do. So if your goal to just have fun and get your freak on, we'll go get your damn freak on. That's up to you. You're a grown person. You're a grown woman. Go get your freak on. But if your goal is to have a relationship, then you have to do it a specific way so that you don't get branded a certain thing.
That makes sense. I can deal with that. Okay. It says the next question that I had on here, she says, how do you help women over 40 establish realistic expectations for their relationships? And what should they be looking for in partners who are compatible and fulfilling? I think part of it you told us, do our core values align? Was
Do
one
the
thing you
core
said
values
right
align?
there. I'm listening. I'm listening. But
Yeah.
that was wondering, how do you set realistic expectations at this age, over 40, when you get in a relationship?
So understand this, that when you're over 40, what you have, which is good and bad, you have the luxury of wisdom.
Mhm.
Okay. Which is bad too. You have the luxury of wisdom. Okay. And what I mean by that is experience and wisdom are two different things. So you've experienced something. Did you gain wisdom from that experience? Okay.
So
So what I
true.
tell people is this: there is a specific way that I teach people over 40 today. Because here's the lie. First thing you got to do is dispel the myth that there are no men out there that are looking for a relationship. That's not true. I'm putting relationships together every single month. That's not true. There are men out there who like a woman over 40, over 50, and I just put one together she was 62. All right. But what they want is, listen to me carefully, they just like y'all. They don't want to make a mistake either. They don't want to pick the wrong person. Right? They
Right,
want to
right.
feel happy too. They don't want any drama as well. And so there is a specific way you date over 40. But the way you date over 40 is contrary to the way people think.
Okay.
So people think he got to have this, and this. They think about the list. And I always say, ditch the damn list
I'm
because
writing it down. Just the list.
ditch the list. Because you know why? You know why people, Brenda, have the list? They create a list because they believe that the things on the list are going to make them happy. If I get a house, 4,000 square foot house, I'll be happy. If he does this, if he's got a big car, if he makes over 200, I think I'll be happy. And I've learned that the list is a superficial thing. Now I'm not talking about internal things. I'm talking about the external list that
Mhm.
we have. Now, if you focus on the internal things, internal lists, you're going to be far more successful. And then this happens. My group that I'm coaching right now, I got 21 women.
Mhm.
Six of them are in new relationships. The first thing I tell them is this. I say, open your mind and heart to a new way to love, because love ain't gonna look like what you have in your head. It's not going to look like that. It doesn't come packaged that way. And I said most of us will miss the love. You know why? Because in our head the packaging looks different. And
Mhm.
so what they were willing to do is date people they may not normally date. One lady who's very successful. She makes a $200,000 a year. She's very analytical. And I told her, I said, the guy that's gonna love you ain't gonna look like who you dated before. She
Mhm.
called me yesterday. She says, Coach, I don't know what to do. I can't believe this. I want to run. I want to run because ain't nobody ever treated me like this. And he ain't the kind of guy that I would normally date. I just
Mhm.
sat there and I said, listen to what the hell you saying to me. Because they know how I am. I
Mhm.
said, I said, the very thing that you asked for, the thing you've been praying for,
Mhm.
somebody to treat you, to love you with all their heart, and you got it, you're getting it. And now you tell me you're going to run from it? How dumb does that sound? And she was like, thanks, coach. All I needed to do was talk to you for 2 minutes. And she
Mhm.
said, you're right. This is what I asked for. I said, but because it didn't come packaged like you
Mhm.
thought it should, you dismissed it. But she said, I ain't gonna dismiss this. And that's what you have to do.
And I'm loving that each time you answer a question, it's flowing right into the next one, because the next question was, Coach, I'm accomplished. I have degrees. I own my own home, money in the
Mhm.
bank, no debt. Men say I'm too masculine.
Mm.
And here's the thing, that question, we actually talked about this, my friends, because I feel like I'm a feminine woman, but I also know that I'm very headstrong. I've been taking care of myself for a long time, 20 years in the Marine Corps. I'm the oldest sister of little brothers.
Yes.
So I like things a certain way, and I like things done the day before that, if I ask. Now, I know that's not a way to approach a man, but I think my fellow friends and I, we get repeatedly heard that we have everything but a man. So when men approach us, it's that thought about, what do I say first? Because we're leading with stuff that, for all accounts, don't make any difference to the man.
It doesn't. A man don't care how much money you make. That's why you'll see a successful man, date somebody who works at Walmart bagging groceries. She just because what she's doing, she understands how to tap into how the man thinks. But I'm going to teach, and a challenge that I got coming up in April, I'm going to teach y'all all this. So watch this. So, okay. So, first I'm going to explain why most of my clients are women who are super successful. They're over 40. They got money, but they
Mhm.
don't have a relationship like you said.
Mhm.
And these ladies who I'm talking about right now, And I said this, I said, the first problem is every human being, and I break this down into so a fifth grader can understand it. Everybody, men and women, both have masculine and feminine energy. Okay.
Mhm.
And I explain what that is, masculine and feminine energy. We both, and I explain what it is. Masculine energy is detail oriented, goal driven. I break it down. Feminine energy is more nurturing, go with the flow. And so I break that down. And I said, everybody has that. I said, now because we live in a business world that rewards masculine energy. So
Mhm.
what women do now, back in the day when my grandmother was around, she didn't go out and she worked at home. She took care of the kids. So she could walk in that feminine energy. She was not in a masculine grid. But now women are making more money than ever. Brilliant. They are in this business world and they have utilized this masculine energy to climb the ladder, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Climb the ladder. And it works. It works in business. It works in education where I'm moving. Problem is that now I get in a relationship. I've never been taught how to regulate my masculine energy. I've never been taught how to manage it. And so it's been successful at work. So when I come home to a man who is masculine, who is mostly masculine, I bring that energy with me, even whether I'm dating or not. Okay. And then because it's been successful, I bring it with me. It's goal oriented, detail oriented. Let's get to the damn point. Let's be direct. Let's do all of this. And the man, what they don't understand is men don't know how to respond to masculine energy that comes out of a woman. They
Mm.
don't know what to do with it. So think about it. If the woman that I'm dating or the woman that I love exhibits masculine energy, I don't know what to do with that because it's coming out of that vessel. When a man sees masculine energy in another man, he knows exactly what to do. Either I confront it, okay,
Mhm.
or I run from it, depending on who. Lions know, animals know energy, right?
Mhm.
It's coming out the woman I love. I don't know what to do with that. So
Yeah.
what happens is either I go to my cave and don't say shit, don't
Mhm.
share, don't whatever, or I'm gonna meet the masculinity. I'm arguing all the time. Now we're in a power struggle, and the couple it cannot work like that. And so when I come in and I got couples like that, and I tell the woman, I say, well, part of the problem is your masculine energy is killing the relationship. Well, coach, why do I have to change? I said, do you want it to work? No, I didn't say not use. See, think about it like this, and I got to put this in there. Masculine and feminine energy, both of us, we have it. You regulate it when you at the job. You regulate it other places.
Mhm.
Just don't feel the need to regulate it at home.
Oh, you ain't had to go there. Mm. But see here, and I don't know how you did this, but I'm sure you read my questions because you're leading into each one so brilliantly. My
Right.
next question was, Coach, why don't men communicate? We had a conversation about, for me, when I was talking to my group, I'm saying, lady, we have to create safe spaces that allow our men uh, to feel like they can be vulnerable and talk to us. But when they take the time to be vulnerable and then we shut them down, how do we expect them to communicate? So the question is, Coach, why don't men communicate? Or are we just not listening?
Whew, boy, you about to promote my new program. Um, you- Let me tell you something. So I did this new program, this new course called "What She Said, What He Heard."
Oh,
Okay,
I like that. Say that again.
what she said,
What she
what
said.
he heard.
Okay.
The art of communicating with a man,
Okay.
and it is geared toward women. And the question is um um how do you get a man? You are you asking me how do you get a man to communicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, to answer that question, I got to explain this to you. Men have been programmed not to communicate, and when I say this to ladies, they don't like it. So I want you to go back when he was a child. Me too, me included. And what do they tell us? They tell us, suck it up. Don't say nothing. Don't cry. Don't be no little bitch. They tell
Mm-hmm.
us, suck it up. Don't cry. So what they've done is they have created an environment where we don't share emotions as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if we share emotions, we're weak. Am I right? And so,
Absolutely.
And so now I grow up to be 20-year-old man. I go through school, I go through problems. Why do you think people have so many mental issues, mental awareness, mental things that are going on is because we don't share we're not emotionally intelligent. And so now I get in a relationship at 30,
Mm-hmm.
35, 40. And then the woman who has been conditioned, she's been conditioned to communicate, share your emotions, be vulnerable, tell your man what's on your mind. But he hasn't. And so now you get in a dynamic where the man doesn't share because subconsciously he's been programmed that sharing my emotions is weak. Right? And
Is that
so
that simp thing?
huh?
That simp thing I keep hearing about?
Yeah, right, right, right. And so, what the woman has to do is she actually has to train him to share his emotions. And part of creating a safe space, and I'm doing it in my program. I'm right here. It is. Here's literally the folder where I did a video yesterday.
Okay.
I told him, I said, if you want to create, first of all, you help the man share by creating a safe space. And there's several ways you can do it, but two of the ways is you validate what he feels. You
Mm-hmm.
validate his thoughts, even if you don't agree with them. You validate the thoughts that the thoughts are valid. Okay. And so what I tell people is, I might not agree with my wife. I mean, years ago, this is when we went through that problem. I learned something. She said, my thoughts are valid, even though they may be false. She
Mm-hmm.
says, even if you don't agree with them, they're valid because I feel it, because
Yeah.
I think it is valid and it deserves conversation. It deserves, and I said, wow. So one of the ways you create the safe space is you validate his thoughts. Doesn't mean you agree with it. That I
Mm-hmm.
tell you that you have a right to believe what you believe. You have a right to think what you think. And then you empathize with him for thinking it. I understand you think this way because of whatever reason. So
Mm-hmm.
now let me unpack and let's work through why you believe it. What that does is validating and empathizing with him. It creates the environment that I will share, that this is a safe space. But the one thing that'll ruin it all is you bring up some shit and weaponize it against him
Absolutely.
that he told you. And so once you created the safe space, you cannot ever use what he tells you during that space as a weapon to bring up later. But
That's
that's how you start.
good.
That's how you create the space for him to share. And it
I
takes
will,
time.
I will say I will do a part A. Just as you said that, it made me think about with my background being prior Marines and my fellow veteran females. A lot are now police officers and stuff. Like we're used to being large and in charge, so it's hard to make that shift. Is there any
Mm.
advice you can give for women like us that we most of what we do is in our masculine? Is it just take your class that's coming up, or is there something we can just
You didn't take
practice?
my class, but I give you
Mhm.
some advice still.
Is there a practice that we can do? Because for me, I find that I often now, I didn't do this before, but I now take a deep breath and I try to really think before I speak about my tone, about my words, and how my body language.
Yes.
Because I'm ready to hurt a brother, okay? But I realize that's not the
Yeah,
right
damn. You so
posture to take.
aggressive. Why you so aggressive, Brenda? Damn. She said, nah, did y'all hear what she said? I want to hurt a brother.
So I have to remember that's not the way to come at a man because I don't agree. I've learned to agree to disagree without being disagreeable.
Okay.
And so anything around that, and then that'll lead me into the next question, which actually has to have me bring up some other things for you.
No, what I would say is first thing is be conscious.
Mm.
Be conscious how your actions are affecting other people. And so being conscious is part of emotional intelligence, is
Mhm.
understanding how what you're doing, how your emotions are affecting you and the relationship. Because you said it, okay, but you can't be conscious of it after the fact.
Yes.
After the fact, after you did the damn damage, after the tornado has come through and destroyed the house, oh snap! We should have went in the basement. Maybe we should have been there. you know. And then the second thing is practice active listening. When I teach people how to practice active listening, how to be an active listener. That is so powerful. Because what happens to you, Brenda, when you believe that the person you're talking to is super engaged, is listening to what you have to say because it's important? What does that do to you?
It makes me relax and I feel peaceful,
And you feel valued.
valued. Yeah.
And so now you're wanting to share, right?
Right.
So part of getting out of your masculine energy is becoming an active listener.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
Part of
you
that.
know who you are who's listening to this right now. So hear that. We need to become better active listeners.
And let me teach y'all. And not only that, and not only the active listening part of it, but the being conscious first.
Hmm.
Then gaining the skill set to actively listen.
That's a good
Okay.
one. All right,
All
Coach.
right.
My next question is
Okay.
surrounding the Canion culture. Uh,
Okay.
all of us purchased our books. And for those of you up there, I'm going to put the little thumbnail up now so you can see it. This is Coach Ken and his lovely wife Karen's book. You can get it at www.coachkencanion.com. For those of you that are listening and not viewing, it is www.coach. Excuse me, www.coachkencanion.com. This book right here. Yeah. Let me tell you, I started reading it. I could not put it down. And I remember, and I don't know why I keep coming to this page, maybe because I need to hear.
What is that? What
Be,
that page say?
be true to yourself. I'm
Okay.
all about being authentic, but every time I open the book, I get that page. And the other one is invest in your relationship. Those two pages keep coming
Right.
up for me personally. So I
Mhm.
want to talk about the Canion culture, which will lead into my second part of that question, which also his lovely
Look at
wife
that pretty girl right there. Who is that?
wrote a book,
If
Karen
I
Canion.
wasn't married, good.
She's already taken, Coach.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. I didn't know if you knew her.
I will tell you, when I picked up your book, I saw that she had myself. I need to get both of these. And when we began to read these, we thought about, which leads into the next question. Is it wrong for women, like in my position, to have this thought about being part of a power couple? Because when we see stuff like this, we see you both walking in your gifts, both together and separately.
Sure.
And that was another question. Is it wrong for us to think power couple? Because me personally, I felt like several of my friends have left really good relationships on the table because the guy, quote unquote, wasn't a power guy.
See, here's the problem though. See, there are two P's in this. It's two P squared. It's power and partnership.
Mm,
See, a lot of people can't be a power couple, not because they're not financially gifted or they have skill sets. It's just that they're not partnerships. That there's not a partnership. That many couples, whether you know it or not, that I coach, they are actually they are competing with each other. They don't know it. They
mm-hmm,
don't know it consciously, but
mm-hmm.
subconsciously they're in competition with each other. And so what me and my wife do is we can both thrive. I could not do what I do without her. My wife is a comedian, actress. She's doing all this different stuff. But it's because we're partners. I support her dreams. She supports my dreams, but we are one. It's the Ken Canion Group. The group is us. All right, and so people don't know when she got a comedy gig this weekend. I come in just carrying the bags. They don't know the other day she had a comedy gig in front of 1,000 people. Right, I
Mm-hmm.
come in carrying the bags. They don't. Everybody, they go Coach Ken right there, and my wife was like, "Well, damn, this my turn now." We laughing. And I hear everybody say, because I mean, I got 900. I told us I got 900,000 followers now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's bound to recognize you. But we have decided that I'm going to serve her dream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to serve her dream. I'm going to nurture her
I like
dream,
that.
support it. She serves my dream. She nurtures my dream. Okay. And she supports it. And so that's the way we're able to do it. But power couple, you can't do the power couple without the partnership.
Okay. And I really like that. I would say, I would like you to tell us if there was one thing that you would like us to get out of the book, The Canyon Culture, Creating Relationships That Last. and there could only be one thing, is there one thing you'd say, make sure you get this?
I would say the one thing, here it is. And it's, I'm glad you asked me that because I had never been asked that question, but
I
more,
think it.
but the answer came to me immediately
Mm-hmm.
that you have to be with someone who allows you to be authentically you. My wife lets me be me. I'm loud as hell. I cuss sometimes. I'm aggressive when it comes to business and goals. And she's funny, but she's quiet when it comes to that. She ain't aggressive like that, but she lets me be me. But here's what she does, though. She'll tap me on my shoulder and say, that's too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'm like, for real, bring it in. Okay. And so that's the one thing. If you're in a relationship where you can't be authentically you, you gotta get out. Because what happens is I'm not talking about improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs to improve. You know, the whole idea of a personal growth and improvement, I think everybody needs to be a student of that. But you're who you are at the core. If you have to change that to be with someone, then they're not the right person for you. If I have to diminish who I am to be with you, then you're not the right.
You're not the right one. You're not the right one at
I'm
all.
not talking about change. Now, there are some things that we all need to change. I need to change the way that I talk to people sometimes, the way that I do things, but that doesn't diminish my core values. That doesn't diminish who I am.
Mm-mm. Wow. This has been so good. I could talk to you forever, but I know you have a life. So I'll
Oh,
ask
no, well, I just appreciate you. I'm glad y'all got the questions
Yeah,
that
I'm excited because I had so many questions. Some I thought were just really ridiculous, but I'm glad we got to ask you those. And what I want to ask you is, Coach, how does what you do to support women and couples help you live your best life now?
you know, me personally, the number one need for every human being is the need for significance. No matter how some people get it by what they do, some people get it, by who they are, but that's our number one need. And the truth is, I get significance when I get to help people, when I get to see people grow, when I get to see relationships change, when I get to see people change. They go from this depressed state to empowered change in their world and the world around them. I get significance when I do that because I've had a hand in it, and I realize that is the reason why I was born. And so for me, doing this work, seeing couples thrive, seeing people change, I get to do this work. And so because I get to do it, I thank God every day that He has allowed me to do this. I just happen to get paid handsomely to do it. But if I didn't get paid a cent, if I didn't get paid a cent to do this, I'd still do it. I would still do it. I might do it on the side, but
Yeah.
I would still do it.
That is exciting. That's what I love. I wanted to bring this up too because in addition to the many books that Coach has written, One Decision Away, The Leadership in the Real World, God, I'm trying to hear all that. I
I ain't
believe
trying
in
to hear
me.
all that.
Oh, excuse me. I ain't trying to hear all that. I believe in me. And one of my personal favorites, Help My Mind is Fat. Lord have mercy. That's a good one. And of course, the Canion culture, creating relationships that last. I am simple. It says simply net.
Simply not. Be
Simply net.
simply
Be
not.
simply
Be
you.
simply you. I
And what you gotta have also, if you're gonna be part of the Canyon culture, you gotta play the games.
You
And
gotta
he
play
has
the
these
games.
relationship decks. It's the relationship card game and the relationship card game sex edition. And those of you that know, I love talking about sex because I want everyone to have sex that makes the angels blush. So we're gonna have a game night with this one and do that.
Good
Because
stuff.
we want everybody to have fun. But for those of you that watch the show, you know what this is about now. It's all about the tap in and how do you tap in? I want you guys to tap in to Coach Ken Canion and his lovely wife. I want you to tap into the Canyon culture. And how do you do that? First of all, it's the T. You transform your mindset. You make a definite decision that I'm ready to have the relationship of my dream even after 40. Then I want you to announce, that's the A, then tap in You're going to announce to the world that I'm going to remove those limiting beliefs, and I'm going to get some accountability by hooking up with Coach Ken. And I'm going to put his, his, there you go, his website at the bottom. You connect with him, get that exploratory session, book for classes and coaching, take his she said, what she said, what he heard, whatever the title is, coach will tell you for sure. But I like that. So you get your accountability announcement. Then I want you to prepare. Prepare yourself for the transformation that is surely going to come when you actually put into practice the things that the coach teaches you. And then I want you to imagine what your life would look like if even after 40, you actually said what you wanted and got what you wanted, because you were voicing that in a way that allowed you to visualize yourself living your best life now, no opportunity wasted. And then finally, the end. I want you to nurture all of that and tap into living your best life, because life is too short to live in the negative. And then I want you to remember, real love happens when you learn to love yourself, flaws and all. I want you to tap into self-love. Coach, do you have any final words for the audience?
Okay, hold on. Let me get my camera so I can get these final words.
Okay.
I get my camera. I turn my camera off. All right. Okay, here we go. I would say my final words are simply this. You have to give yourself, no one can give you permission to love, only you. You have to give yourself permission to love again. You have to give yourself permission to trust again. Only you. And you know what? I get it. I get it. A lot of us have had experiences that were not ideal, and we were hurt by those experiences. We maybe even broken and traumatic. But I will tell you something, that the reason why God says the love is the greatest of them all of the things that he talked about, is because the desire to want to love is innate in us all. And so, yeah, you got to be vulnerable to do that. You got to risk it all. You got to risk pain to feel it. But you know what? All of you are worth it. Every single one of you are worth it. Not because coach said so, but because he said so.
Coach Ken, I want to thank you again for coming on, talk to me, and helping me on this Face It Friday. Face it, that even after 40, I can have the relationships of my dream. And I'm excited about that. So for those of you watching, don't forget to let someone know so you can watch it on the replay. Check out Coach Ken Canion on all social media platforms, because he is everywhere.
I am everywhere.
And I want to remind you to keep abreast, because in April, he's going to be having this challenge. You do not want to miss it. But more importantly, I want to remind each and every one of you that the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely and choose to check out Coach Ken. Be blessed, everyone.